This is Outlaw, America's alternative voice, from the studios of 850 AM, WFTL, streaming around the world at outlawshow.com. Here's Dean Trantalis.
Welcome back, and I'd like to reintroduce my guest, Sandy Steen, former mayor of Wilton Manors. Welcome, Sandy.
Well, thank you very much, Dean.
I'm glad she has driven all the way from St. Augustine on the end of a vacation to be here tonight, so I'm very thankful that you're able to make the time for us.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be here with you.
Well, before we talk about the Log Cabin Group, we have Mona on the line, and apparently she has a question or two to ask our county commissioner. Let's see if she's there. Mona?
Hello?
Mona?
Yeah.
Hi,
here.
this is Dean Trantalis. Good evening. How are you?
Hi, good evening. How are you?
Very good. So tell us what's on your mind tonight.
I have a question for Commissioner LaMarca. We happen to live in his district, and though my husband and I aren't particularly politically active, I do remember vividly the campaign from when Commissioner LaMarca ran. There was some pretty negative campaigning going on the side of former Commissioner Keachel. We got numerous mailers to our home, and we also followed the dangerous dog issue pretty closely because we have a couple of pets ourselves, and it was on the news. So now that it's come to light that former Commissioner Keachel plans to run again, I'm wondering, how things stand between the two commissioners. Has peace been made? Has Commissioner LaMarca heard from Commissioner Keachel? What was the final outcome of all of that? Because it got pretty ugly there for a while.
Commissioner LaMarca, would you like to respond to that?
I'd be happy to. One of the unfortunate things about a campaign is I found out by staying positive that people are over the negative attacks, and Ken for listening to his campaign folks spent over $500,000 going negative on me, and it didn't work. People wanted a positive message, but to the answer to that, I guess it's unfortunate because I like to use the example that my mother had to make a few robocalls for me, and my 93-year-old grandmother got some pretty bad mail. So it's unfortunate, but at the end of the day, it is about a campaign, and unfortunately, negativity works to an extent. I think when you go too much of it. So to answer your question, Mona, Ken didn't actually formally call me back. We have bumped into each other occasionally downtown. He does work close by to the county governmental center. He's an attorney with a firm close by. He had achieved a very large accomplishment in being the county mayor of Broward County, and as Dean had mentioned, being an openly gay mayor. So I don't know if his pride was an issue or whatnot. I like to say that we were friendly before, and it was a pretty nasty campaign. But I was raised by a single mom for most of my life, and certainly know that you try to rise above it, and I don't hold any grudges. So if he was to be victorious and serve on the county commission with me, then I welcome him there, and we'll just have to cross that bridge when it gets to it. But we certainly, I don't know that you could say that we've quote unquote made peace or had broke bread. I don't think due to the county ethics ordinance we can break bread, but I certainly say hello to him.
Your own.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I certainly say hello to him when I see him, and just kind of put it behind me. But you're right; it was a little bit of a difficult campaign.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your service.
Okay. Log cabin Republicans. Those of us in the gay community often think that being an openly gay person and a Republican at the same time is sort of a contradiction. If you go on the website of the Log Cabin Republicans, they say that the nation's only organization of Republicans who support fairness, freedom, and equality for gay and lesbian Americans. We're loyal Republicans. We believe in equality for gay and lesbian people in the finest tradition of the Republican Party, and on and on and on. Yet, too often and so often, Republicans are identified as being the members of a party who are most often on the side of legislation that attempts to defeat legislation that is supportive of the gay community. And Sandy, you're a straight woman.
Yes.
And you were the former mayor of Wilton Manors, and now you're the president of the local log cabin group. So there's some like weirdness in all that from a gay person's point of view. And tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be president of the log cabin group.
Well, they happen to be wonderful people. I want to tell you.
They meaning the log cabin Republicans.
The log cabin Republicans. I've developed some very good friendships amongst them. And what I encourage the log cabin Republicans to do is apply for precinct positions within the county organization, and we have a lot of members who are committee members of the Republican, the
so
county
committee. Are they welcomed?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'll tell you how I got involved with them. You know my late boss, Bill Markham, the Broward County property appraiser. Well, we almost lost the election. Bill was a Republican, lifelong Republican, and we almost lost in 2000, and Bill was not comfortable with that. And so he thought long and hard.
It was a pretty Democratic year that year.
And yes. And so he changed his party and ran in 2004 as a Democrat. And unfortunately, right in the middle of the campaign, he dropped dead of a heart attack. And the only Republican club to honor him were the Log Cabin Republicans. And they bought a brick at Riverfront in his memory and had a ceremony and presented his widow and 2 sons with a certificate and had a little service in Bill's honor. And so I said, I will always be loyal to them because they were loyal to my late boss. So my husband and I invited them to meet at our home. Well, they elected me president. And I'm the only straight president nationally of a log cabin Republican club. And I think one of the gay publications made a big issue of it. And they had my picture and, the whole history.
Well, it is a big issue. It is a big deal because, it's very unusual. Our allies aren't always culled from the ranks of the straight community, although we have many straight people who are very supportive of our issues. But certainly in the organizations, it's an unusual thing.
Well, my husband and I are fiscal conservatives and social moderates. And we're both religious people, but that is, we don't discriminate against anyone. Absolutely no one.
So tell us a little bit about your being a mayor of Wilton Manors. You obviously had confronted those issues of sexual orientation early on, certainly before they became headlines.
That's right. And while I was, during my first term as mayor, we welcomed some openly gay businesses. And I attended every ribbon cutting and every grand opening. And I welcomed them into our community. And of course, it has grown tremendously. And I made some very good friends in the gay community. And of course, an awful lot of people like to come to our home. I think they like my cooking. And I had Democrats come to our home, and I have the change forms right there.
As long as it's fat-free. Go ahead.
And they have changed their party right there. And so our club is growing.
Well, now, interesting you say that, because now there's another club of gay Republicans called GOP Proud. And what is their why do they feel they need to establish a new club when, in fact, the Log Cabin Club mostly represents the gay community?
They were members of Log Cabin, and they felt that Log Cabin wasn't conservative enough for them. So they are much more conservative than the
conservative
Log Cabin
in what way? Fiscally, socially? What are we talking about conservative? They don't believe in gay marriage. They don't believe in gays in the military. They don't believe in adoption.
I really don't know what their issues are, but they said we were too liberal for them.
Because they invited.
I can't speak for them.
Well, it's interesting because Ann Coulter, a nationally known conservative, she's joined their ranks. And when many of us saw that in the headlines this summer, we kind of wondered what is going on with gay Republicans, that they are, of course, there's always that concern.
She's never been invited to the Log Cabin National.
But the point is that, the gay community is obviously the most important endeavor that they undertake is to educate people. And so as you look at what the mission is of the Log Cabin Republicans, clearly they're not in the majority of the Republican philosophy. But is that their role, to educate, to be a part of the club, and to be invited to the parties and to go to the dinners and to sit next to mainstream or conservative Republicans and educate them?
Well, I'll tell you, at the last Republican dinner, the Lincoln Day dinner, the Log Cabin Club bought a table. I was out of town, but yet we had a full table there.
The Lincoln Day dinner is the fundraiser that the county puts on for all Republicans.
Yes.
Okay.
And the Log Cabin Republicans take an active part in the county government, and
but how are they perceived within the party in Broward County?
Well, there are some really right-wing people who aren't open to gays or even maybe the Jewish Republicans, but that's their issue. And
does that philosophy dominate the party?
I don't think so.
Well, Chip, you were the head of the party.
Let me give you my opinion. I don't think it dominates.
It's a small percentage.
Yeah,
Wouldn't you say?
I would say it's a small percentage. More importantly, I would say that when I ran for county commission, the Log Cabin Republican Club did an event for me at George's Alibi.
We sure did.
I was happy to have an event by anybody, trust me. But the issue was, they were very very welcoming. They, trust me, there were a lot of introductions made that night that I wouldn't have had if it wasn't for my friends in that club. But separate from that, one of the most staunch, for me anyway, supporters of not only me but prior to that the Giuliani campaign and other campaigns to go out and really work was one of the members of the Log Cabin Club, Dr. Charlie LaPiccolo, and has been a Log Cabin member for many years. But he'll also go out and fight on issues of conservative principles, i.e. the fiscal issues, other issues, and I see your point, and it's certainly it's a conflict at times if you are a member of the gay community and there are certain issues that your party seems to be fighting against you on. But,
all the time, may I remind you?
Well, you know what? Let's just say probably one of the worst laws for the gay community and for our military was "Don't Ask, Don't Tell." And I think the Log Cabin Republican Club was their lawyers were part of the reason why it was overturned.
Right.
They came back and I think it was Log Cabin versus United States.
Yeah,
of
they're
America,
the ones that filed the lawsuit.
But at the end of the day, you know what? We can find good and we can find bad in anything. And I think certainly the good for me anyway has been that there's a lot of really dedicated members of the Log Cabin Republican Club. Like I said before, the truly principled conservatives will look and say, I want smaller government, I want more fiscal responsibility, and they don't want to get into your private business. And to me, that's, it's the Republican Party, and I know you might find this a little humorous, but it's the party of Lincoln. And what did Lincoln do for an entire...
the Republican Party is the party of Lincoln. In fact, it was the Republican Party during Lincoln's time was the party against discrimination. They're the ones that wanted to defeat slavery, and the Democratic Party at the time was in favor of slavery. Mm-hmm. And obviously things have certainly morphed in a totally different direction now. And so yes, we can say it was the party of Lincoln, but things have changed. The people who comprise the Republican Party are different. It has been, to me, the philosophy of the Republican Party and its mission has been hijacked by extremists. And where are the centrist Republicans out there? Why aren't they pulling back more than they seem to now? I watched some of these debates with the presidential candidates, and each one is trying to be more extreme and bizarre than the next, to the point where they're tripping over each other into trying to be as extremist as possible. To which audience are they playing?
Well, let's say that the moderate Republicans are probably the same place where the Jack Kennedy Democrats are. The extreme sides of both parties seem to get all the headlines. When you're in a primary, for example, in the Republican primary right now, there are 8 or 9, 10 or 12, depending on how many candidates you can count. You can't fit them on the stage, so call it 8 for the last few debates. And really, this is a fight to get a small percentage of the voters to me. I mean, if you look at where we are right now, Mitt Romney is kind of what I like to call leading in a flatline position of about 25%, and it's everybody else kind of taking
He's
the top.
everybody's second choice, it seems to be.
Well,
Yeah.
you're almost correct in that you've got to almost kind of come out of these debates and say something as
inflammatory.
well as much as you could, or you get some people like to forget things, and
Sandy,
that got them a lot of attention.
What do you think about this, Sandy?
Well, you know something? There is a log cabin Republican who is running for president. His name is Fred Karger, but he's not been invited to some of the debates.
Well,
but he is an openly gay Republican.
so why is
And-
that? I mean, where's his acceptance by the mainstream Republicans to allow him on the stage? Certainly, Newt Gingrich has no constituency greater than the log cabin constituency. If you want to look at numbers, he doesn't even have a campaign staff of consequence. Yet he's invited because why? I mean, Where's
I
where's
can't
the,
answer that, but Fred Karger has filed some lawsuits because he's been
discriminated against?
discriminated against.
Dean, I'll take this from a different approach. You've got former Louisiana Governor Buddy Roemer, who is yet to be in a debate. You had Gary Johnson, the former two-time governor of New Mexico, who was actually a pretty good fiscal conservative governor, and he's only been to one debate, and that was the one in Orlando. So there are a pack of, and I'm hoping it's not because of Fred's support of the gay community and being an openly gay candidate, but I would say there's probably about 4 candidates who have yet to get to that 1% level, that threshold, to be able to get on that stage. And ultimately, I guess if you look at your candidates who are out there, usually in a primary, you could probably have 50 people on the stage. I mean, I am looking forward to the day when there are about 4 people at one of these debates, and you could really have a conversation rather than a quick question and hit or miss with each candidate. But you're in danger of, for example, people like John Huntsman, former governor of Utah, being not in a race because he's only at about 2%. So I think it's more of a threshold issue than his sexual orientation. I really do. I mean,
and do you know, John Huntsman reached out to Log Cabin National.
Well, so tell me, are the log cabins gaining traction? Do you feel that the members of the log cabin organization are now being recognized as a potent component of the Republican Party,
It's a
or is
very
it just lip
big
service?
national organization.
Right,
And-
but where is their influence? Certainly not on the platforms that are being created by any of the presidential candidates that we're seeing. I don't see one of them supporting the slightest. They've not given one statement in support of any issue that would positively
all-
affect the gay and lesbian community.
First of all, we can't endorse in a primary.
You can't endorse in a primary, but none of the presidential candidates, as they've now been presented to us, have indicated their interest in ending discrimination in the military. None of them have said that they want to turn back the DOMA law. None of them have. In fact, I've even heard this evening that there are congressmen in Florida who have signed on to legislation that would prevent gay marriages from taking place on military bases, that would inhibit any kind of progress that is now being made or attempted to be made by the gay community and the Obama administration. Why can't the Republican Party just open up? And where does the Log Cabin Club, or for that matter, you can't speak for GOP Proud, but what is their strategy for trying to get the Republican Party and opening up their philosophies and not being so narrow-minded as represented by these candidates?
Well, we are out there very active, and I'll tell you what, at the National Convention, which is going to be held in Tampa, Log Cabin is going to host an event there. We're going to have an open house, and
Is that a Florida Log Cabin?
Yes, Florida Log Cabin. There are several clubs, and of course some of the national people will be down as well. But we are pooling, the various clubs in Florida are pooling the money, and we're going to host an event. at the National Convention.
When you say an event, does that mean you're going to
An
rent out
open
a
house?
suite and
Yes.
have like a reception?
Yes.
Now let me ask you something. You've been to some of these events. You've been to. Have you ever been to a national convention?
Yes.
Okay. So I've been to a national convention, Democratic, and the gay community when it was evolving. I was at the 2000 convention in L.A. and the gay community was starting to make its presence known, and a lot of conservative Democrats would come up to members of the gay community and would show interest and appreciation, but when it came to a public presence, they shied away from any sort of association with the gay community. Do you see any of that in the Republican Party? Are they willing to say, you know, I really support what you're going for, but I can't tell my constituency?
Well, I can't speak to that issue right now, but after the Republican National Convention, I'll be glad to come back and discuss the issue with you.
Are you looking to be a delegate at that convention, or are you just going to participate with the log cabin
Well,
reception?
if I can be a delegate, I'll be a delegate.
Right.
Or an alternate. But we're going to take an active part.
So
Log Cabin will take an active part.
So in your meetings with the Log Cabin Republicans locally, do you find yourself strategizing as to how to make change within government as Republicans here in the area? Because you know, there's the old saying that a gay Democrat is gay first and Democrat second. And amongst Republicans, they're Republican first and gay second.
We have a Log Cabin member who is running for the legislature.
I understand that. So how is the Republican Party receiving that?
Well, he was received very warmly at Presidency 5.
What was that?
That was in Orlando.
Presidency 5 meaning the presidential debate?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Dean, it's kind of a mini convention. It just so happens that the convention is
It's
actually
a
going to be
state.
back here in Florida.
Right.
But it's really our state version of the convention, which took place in Orlando, and all the candidates were there at some point in time. Then the debate happened, but there were other events kind of around it, and it's kind of, again, a little mini convention, and it was a good opportunity to see really a lot of people from Broward County. It's a good showing.
Do you know which district this person is running for? Who currently holds? Who currently?
60. I believe it's 91.
And who currently holds that seat?
Gwendolyn Clark Reed.
Oh, so he's running against Gwendolyn Clark Reed?
Yes.
Okay. And has the Republican Party offered any other candidates to run in that race?
No.
So I'm just wondering, are they taking his candidacy seriously? Do they think he's just a
I would say
sacrificial
so.
lamb?
No, I
No?
would say they were taking it very seriously. He got an awful lot of petitions signed at the Republican Executive Committee.
Okay. All right. Well, certainly I wish him luck, and I've never met the individual, but I would love to hope that at long last there will be a openly gay member of the state legislature, which heretofore has yet to have occurred.
He held office in North Carolina.
But
prior
not
to
here.
this. No.
Okay.
But
So his background, he has experience.
He has experience.
What is his name?
Do
you remember?
Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you invite him onto your...
Well, I can't because he's a candidate, and I'm not.
Okay.
I'm trying to get away from bringing candidates on the air.
Equal time.
Equal time, exactly. But all right. Well, this has certainly been a very eye-opening experience being able to speak with you, Sandy, tonight, and Commissioner LaMarca. And many of the things that we've talked about tonight, I don't think a lot of our listeners have had much experience knowing even who Log Cabin Republicans are, or that the organization even existed. And I know members of the gay community, Commissioner LaMarca, were interested in knowing where, who you are as a person and your philosophy. And I have to say that it's a little reassuring to know that your agenda, per se, is not an extremist agenda. We are looking forward to your future votes, should they affect our community, and knowing that you will be very supportive of our community. We have that promise, right?
I'm going to. You always have my promise, Dean, that I represent the people that put me there, and that includes whether they voted for me or not. The people I serve are the people who live in the district, and if there are issues important to the gay community, then I will always be objective and listen. And whether they're Democrats or Republicans, it really, it's amazing that, what happens when you actually get in the office, that you realize you have to lead by representing people, because the role is because they can't be there. So if there are issues important to the gay community, then I will certainly always listen and be as fair as I can. And I think we saw that last week.
No, we did see that last week, and
I know you'll hold me to it.
Exactly, and it's important because it's a constant battle for the gay community to be challenged by elements of, I'm not just going to say conservatism, I'm going to say elements of regressive government interference, and that's important because in our own backyard we see pockets of it, and when we turn our back, we never know when someone's going to turn around and try to pull the rug out from under us. It happens not just locally, but all over the country. Under the Clinton administration and now under the Obama administration, we had many advances that helped our community. But I thank you again tonight, Sandy and Commissioner LaMarca. And next week, our show is going to be about bullying, school bullying. We're going to have students from Nova University attend and participate in a roundtable discussion. And we hope you can all attend. It's going to be an eye-opening experience, the stories and the future that students have in Nova. Thank you, and we're here to see you next week. Thank you.